Now that Kitten Space Agency is starting to shape up to be more than just a tech demo, I thought it would be a nice idea to think about what made the original space simulation game Kerbal Space Program so great, and also why was it so fun to play. Hello everybody and welcome! Yes, I used the past tense in my intro. No, Kerbal Space Program was not fun to play. It still is fun to play because it's still available, and since it is a digital good, it will not get bad or fade away or get moldy or whatever. Anyway, I would just like to take this video to talk about what made Kerbal Space Program feel so fun, feel so alive, because if we look at other games that tried to emulate the formula, like for instance Juno New Origins, which is actually a great game and a great stab at this space simulation games thingy, well, it feels kind of lifeless for some reason, or at least not as lived in as the world in Kerbal Space Program does. And yes, of course, the cute little green aliens play a big part in that. But it's also, I think, the world building. There's a lot of Easter eggs hidden around the home planet of Kerbin. There is this monolith right around the corner from the main base you start from. There are old deprecated parts lying around in an airfield on the next island. There is this pyramids type thing over in the desert, and a lot of other stuff. And I haven't even found everything since I started playing this more than a decade ago. Probably because I was just lazy. Now, I have to admit there might be some Easter eggs hidden in Juno, and maybe I just don't know them and haven't found them, so sorry about that, and please correct me in the comments. But I think it's even more than that. For instance, if you go into the VAB or the space plane hangar in Kerbal Space Program, it feels like a real place. There are vehicles driving around, there are lifts in the background and Kerbals standing there. They're not functional or anything. You can't do anything with them, they don't help you build your vehicle or whatever, but it still adds to the atmosphere. It feels like this is a real place in a fictional universe, of course. Compare that to Juno and you see, well, a very sterile building environment. I mean, it does help you focus on your build, but still, it is just a very dark place with your vehicle front and center. And also, if we take a stroll around the Kerbal Space Center, there is a lot to discover here, even in this small area of the game. I mean, you have stairs you can walk up and down for no reason at all than them just being there. You don't get any extra points or whatnot. They are just here to explore and see what happens. There is this pool you can drive into or jump into. You can try to land a VTOL or helicopter or maybe even a rocket on top of the VAB on the helipads or on top of the helipad on the administration building. And of course, this here is a modded install of KSP, so there's a lot of vegetation. That of course would not be in the stock game, but in the stock game you have these surface exploration elements that you can visit and scan, and then you get additional science points. Also, when we try to answer the question why was KSP so much fun, well, is, of course, not was, is, I'm sorry. You can grab a few parts, slap them together, and you have something you can roll out onto the airfield or onto the launching pad, and hilarity will ensue. Compare that to Juno, for instance, where you have to fiddle around with the procedural parts and really have to, I don't know, have a plan what you want to do, because otherwise you will just end up with a couple of things. I mean, there are prefab parts, of course, and you can slap them together and get a similar effect. But for some reason, it does not feel as much fun as KSP does. This is starting to sound like I'm trying to bash Juno New Origins, far from it. I really appreciate what the developers of that game did, and in some respects it is better than Kerbal Space Program. For instance, in the flexibility it offers you to create your vehicles and the detail you can put into your creations. Also, there's an automation built in. You don't have to get a mod like KOS to do that, so yeah, Juno is a great game. Maybe it does come around to those little green men, those Kerbals you get attached to, because I don't know how you feel about them, but me personally, I really don't want to see them die. Which is why I use quick save and quick reload a lot. I'm not sure, but I don't think I've really lost a crew member in the past, I don't know, 500 missions or something. I haven't kept count, to be honest, but I'm really averse to losing a crew member. Call me NASA. And if we can believe what Rocketworks developers said about Kitten Space Agency, they want to make us, the players, also get attached to their catastronauts or catastrophenauts or kittenauts or whatever they're going to be called. And whether or not they're going to look like the concept art images is still up in the air. But let me know in the comments, how about you guys? Are you feeling attached to your crew members in KSP? Do you mind if they die because they will be replaced by some other weirdly named character called Kerbin with the last name? Or are you a different kind of player and have a different approach to this? Let me know in the comments. Also, have you played Juno and Kerbal Space Program? What are your thoughts when comparing them? Which of those feels more alive, feels more like a real world to you? Coming back to that topic, if we look at the parts in Kerbal Space Program, since they are not procedural, they have like a certain type of character to them, because each of them is, let's say, a small vehicle in its own right, so it's easier to make a design for them. If you have procedural parts, each one of them have like stretchy textures, if you know what I mean, because you can't really say, okay, here are 5 bolts and here are 10, and if I use the 12-meter variant, then it has like this downcomer on the outside, and if I lose the 10 diameter thing, it has these types of rust spots and whatnot. So while having procedural parts is a big plus for getting the complexity down and having more flexibility in building your vehicles, I think creatively and in regards to art style, you can have more when you concentrate on sort of these prefab parts that we have in KSP. Again, if you completely disagree, let me know. This is some kind of open discussion type video, and I'll also be in the comments after this video is released, so we can have a chat about that. So far in Kitten Space Agency, we haven't seen any parts or prefabs or any type of vehicle except for that Apollo Command and Service module that they're using to demonstrate their technology. And that, of course, is a prefabbed vehicle. I think another big thing that influences whether or not you think about a game world being real or getting attached to it is sound design and music. I know people like to crap on it, but Kerbal Space Program 2 still has one of the best soundscapes in this type of genre. I mean, the music is fantastic, and they really try to capture original rocket launch sounds for their sound effects. I wonder if there's already a mod that can integrate those into original KSP. Has anyone done that yet? Speaking of Kerbal Space Program 2, while they had the Kerbals and all the animations and stuff, for some reason it did not feel that, let's say, lived in as the original. Maybe it was because everything was too shiny and looked like it was new, and for some reason KSP stuff, the original stuff, looked a bit, I don't know, more worn out, more used. I really can't put my finger on it, but maybe if you can, and you can put those in words, put them down in the comments. For me, it's similar to how the original Star Wars felt to me more real than, let's say, the prequel series with all their shiny CGI and everything new and whatnot. Coming back to Kitten Space Agency and the development company behind it, Rocketworks, if we look at their previous games, for instance Icarus, they know how to make worlds that feel alive, at least with vegetation and animals and stuff. So I'm kind of hopeful that they managed to get that done for Kitten Space Agency as well. But maybe those are different teams, or maybe those are different art people that are working on those. We shall see. But I think I still haven't answered the question why I think why KSP-1, the original Kerbal Space Program, was so much fun. And I believe it comes down to a combination of all of those things that we talked about. A world that feels believable in some ways, even though it's like full of little green aliens. Technology that you can easily grasp by just slapping ready-made parts together and go fly them. And then, of course, it's full of challenges. There's like dozens of celestial bodies to explore. There is a lot of landmarks and Easter eggs and surface stuff to scan and collect. And I think you can make this game whatever you want it to be. Basically, it follows the original idea of Legos before Lego turned completely corporate and just churned out the 100th Star Wars and Marvel comics sets. Whenever you start a game in KSP, you can go on a new type of adventure. For instance, I always wanted to build like a space station made out of multiple asteroids, and I still haven't done that. And I also haven't managed to bring back a comet into the orbit around Kerbin, because comets are actually huge, and that would require massive vehicles with delta V that are very unreasonable. But maybe I'm going to attempt that in the future. So make sure you're subscribed to that if this type of content interests you. And if you really like what I do on this channel, make sure you check out my Patreon page where you can support what I do for a small monthly contribution. And there's of course also the option to sign up as a YouTube member. Depending on the tier, you can get early access to videos, or your name will show up here together with all of these wonderful people. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Video frequency has decreased over the couple of 2 months, unfortunately, because I had a lot of stuff going on in my private life, which is still a thing for me, but I hope I can pick that up over the summer, and definitely once I can get my hands on KSA, which will be hopefully sometime soon. When? Well, I have a video out where I speculate about that based on the data that I already have, so you can check that out. I'll link to it in the description. Other than that, what are your thoughts on the topic? As I said multiple times in this video, drop a comment and let me know. I'm really interested in your opinions on this. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel for more and follow me on my social thingies. The links are in the description. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.